Hunter Biden, Burisma&Corruption. The impact on U.S. government policy and related concerns. U.S. Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. U.S. Senate Committee on Finance Majority Staff Report. Table of contents. Go down. Starting at 4 is the Vice President's Office and State Department officials were aware of but ignored concerns relating to Hunter Biden's role on Burisma's board. 5. Secretary of State John Kerry falsely claimed he had no knowledge about Hunter Biden's role on Burisma's board. 6. State Department officials viewed Mykola Zlochevsky as a corrupt, odious oligarch, but Vice President Biden was advised not to accuse Zlochevsky of corruption. 7. While Hunter Biden served on Burisma's board, Burisma's owner, Zlochevsky, allegedly paid a $7 million bribe to Ukraine's Prosecutor General's office to close the case. 8. Hunter Biden, a Secret Service protectee while on Burisma's board. 9. Obama administration officials and a Democrat lobbying firm had consistent and significant contact with former Ukrainian official Andriy Telizhenko. There you go. The minority falsely accused the chairman of engaging in a Russian disinformation campaign and used other tactics to interfere in the investigation. 11. Hunter Biden and his family's financial transactions with Ukrainian, Russian, Kazakh, and Chinese nationals raised criminal concerns and extortion threats. Conclusion. So let's go down. Start with the summary. Executive summary. In late 2013 and into 2014, mass protests erupted in Kiev, Ukraine, demanding integration into Western economies and an end to a systemic corruption that had plagued the country. At least 82 people were killed during the protests, which culminated on February 21st when Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych abdicated by fleeing the country. Less than 2 months later, over the span of only 28 days, significant events involving the Bidens unfolded. On April 16, 2014, Vice President Biden met with his son's business partner, Devon Archer, at the White House. 5 days later, Vice President Biden visited Ukraine, and he soon after was described in the press as the public face of the administration's handling of Ukraine. The day after his visit, on April 22nd, Archer joined the board of Burisma. 6 days later, on April 28th, British officials seized $23 million from the London bank accounts of Burisma's owner, Mykola Zlochevsky. 14 days later, on May 12th, Hunter Biden joined the board of Burisma, and over the course of the next several years, Hunter Biden and Devon Archer were paid millions of dollars from a corrupt Ukrainian oligarch for their participation on the board. The 2014 protests in Kiev came to be known as the Revolution of Dignity, a revolution against corruption in Ukraine. Following that revolution, Ukrainian political figures were desperate for U.S. support. Zlochevsky would have made sure relevant Ukrainian officials were well aware of Hunter's appointment on Burisma's board as leverage. Hunter Biden's position on the board created an immediate potential conflict of interest that would prove to be problematic for both U.S. and Ukrainian officials and would affect the implementation of Ukraine policy. The chairman's investigation into potential conflicts of interest began in August 2019 with Chairman Grassley's letter to the Department of the Treasury regarding potential conflicts of interest with respect to Obama administration policy relating to the Hashas transaction. During the Obama administration, the Committee on Foreign Investment and in the United States, CFIUS, approved a transaction that gave control over Hashas. an American maker of anti-vibration technologies with military applications, to a Chinese government-owning aviation company and a China-based investment firm with established ties to the Chinese government. One of the companies involved in the Henniges transaction was a $1 billion private investment fund called Bohai Harvest RST, BHR. BHR was formed in November 2013 by a merger between the Chinese government linked from Bohai Capital and a company named Rosemont Seneca Partners. Rosemont Seneca was formed in 2009 by Hunter Biden, the son of then Vice President Joe Biden, by Chris Hines, the stepson of former Secretary of State John Kerry, and others. Here are the sources. I will copy and paste those, paste it all in the video link. Access to relevant documents and testimony has been persistently hampered by criminal investigations, impeachment proceedings, CV-19, and several instances of obstructive behavior. Accordingly, this investigation has taken longer than it should have. The chairman's efforts have always been driven by our belief that the public has the right to know about wrongdoing and conflicts of interest occurring within the government, and especially those conflicts brought about by the actions of governmental officials. This is a good government oversight investigation that relies on documents and testimony from U.S. agencies and officials, not a Russian disinformation campaign, as our Democratic colleagues have falsely stated. What the chairman discovered during the course of this investigation is that the Obama administration knew that Hunter Biden's position on Burisma's board was problematic and did interfere in the efficient execution of policy with respect to Ukraine. Moreover, this investigation has illustrated the extent to which officials within the Obama administration ignored the glaring warning signs when the vice president's son joined the board of a company owned by a corrupt Ukrainian oligarch. And, as will be discussed in later sections, Hunter Biden was not the only Biden who cashed in on Joe Biden's vice presidency. This report not only details examples of extensive and complex financial transactions involving the Bidens, it also describes the quandary of other U.S. governmental officials faced as they attempted to guide and support Ukraine's anti-corruption efforts. The committees will continue to evaluate the information and evidence as it becomes available. Key findings. In early 2015, a former acting deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, Ukraine, George Kent, raised concerns to officials in Vice President Joe Biden's office about the perception of a conflict of interest with respect to Hunter Biden's role on the Burisma's board. Kent's concerns went unaddressed, and in September 2016, he emphasized in an email to his colleagues, furthermore, the presence of Hunter Biden on the Burisma board was very awkward for all U.S. officials pushing an anti-corruption agenda in Ukraine. In October 2015, senior State Department official Amos Hochstein raised concerns with Vice President Biden as well as with Hunter Biden that Hunter Biden's position on Burisma's board enabled Russian disinformation efforts and risked undermining U.S. policy in Ukraine. Although Kent believed that Hunter Biden's role in Burisma's board was awkward for all U.S. officials pushing an anti-corruption agenda in Ukraine, the committees are only aware of two individuals, Kent and former U.S. Special Envoy and Coordinator for the International Energy Affairs, Amos Hochstein, who raised concerns to Vice President Joe Biden, Hochstein, or his staff, Kent. The awkwardness for Obama administration officials continued well past his presidency. Former Secretary of State John Kerry had knowledge of Hunter Biden's role on Burisma's board. But when asked about it in a town hall event in Nashua, New Hampshire on December 8th, 2019, Kerry falsely said, "I had no knowledge about any of that. None. No. Evidence to the contrary is detailed in Section 5. Former Assistant Secretary of State for European and Eurasian Affairs, Victoria Nuland, testified that confronting oligarchs would send an anti-corruption message in Ukraine. Kent told the committees that Zlochevsky was an odious oligarch. However, in December 2015, instead of following U.S. objectives of confronting oligarchs, Vice President Biden's staff advised him to avoid commenting on Zlochevsky and recommended he say, "I'm not going to get into naming names or accusing individuals." Hunter Biden was serving on Burisma's board, supposedly consulting on corporate governance and transparency, when Zlochevsky allegedly paid a $7 million bribe to officials serving under Ukraine's prosecutor general, Vitaly Yaremna, to shut the case against Zlochevsky. Kent testified that this bribe occurred in December 2014, 7 months after Hunter joined Burisma's board. And after learning about it, he and the resident legal advisor reported this allegation to the FBI. Hunter Biden was a U.S. Secret Service protectee from January 29, 2009 to July 8, 2014. A day before his last trip as a protectee, Time published an article describing Burisma's ramped-up lobbying efforts to U.S. officials and Hunter's involvement in Burisma's board. Before ending his protective detail, Hunter Biden received Secret Service protection on trips to multiple foreign locations, including Moscow, Beijing, Doha, Paris, Seoul, Manila, Tokyo, Mexico City, Milan, Florence, Shanghai, Geneva, London, Dublin, Munich, Berlin, Bogota, Abu Dhabi, Nairobi, Hong Kong, Taipei, Buenos Aires, Copenhagen, Johannesburg, Brussels, Madrid, Mumbai, and Lake Como. Andriy Telizhenko, the Democrats' personification of Russian disinformation, met with Obama administration officials, including Elizabeth Zentos, a member of Obama's National Security Council, at least 10 times. A Democrat lobbying firm, Blue Star Strategies, contracted with Telizhenko from 2016 to 2017 and continued to request his assistance as recent as the summer of 2019. A recent news article detailed other extensive contacts between Telizhenko and Obama administration officials. In addition to the over $4 million paid by Burisma for Hunter Biden and Archer's board memberships, Hunter Biden, his family, and Archer received millions of dollars from foreign nationals with questionable backgrounds. Archer received $142,300 from Kenjiz Rakishev of Kazakhstan, purportedly for a car, the same day Vice President Joe Biden appeared with Ukrainian Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk and addressed Ukrainian legislators in Kiev regarding Russia's actions in Crimea. Hunter Biden received $3.5 million wire transfer from Elena Baturina, the wife of the former mayor of Moscow. Hunter Biden opened a bank account with Gong Wendong to fund a $100,000 global spending spree with James Biden and Sarah Biden. Hunter Biden had business associates with Yi Jianming, Gong Wendong, and other Chinese nationals linked to the Communist government and the People's Liberation Army. Those associations resulted in millions of dollars of cash flow. Hunter Biden paid non-resident women who were nationals of Russia or other Eastern European countries and who appeared to be linked to an Eastern European prostitution or human trafficking ring. All right. Introduction. The Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, HSGAC, and the Senate Committee on Finance undertook this investigation into potential conflicts of interest and the involvement of the Biden family in foreign business ventures while Joe Biden was vice president, following allegations that the Obama administration's Ukraine policy could have been affected by Hunter Biden's position on the board of Burisma, and that family members may have improperly sought to benefit from the relationship with the vice president. The first letter written regarding potential conflicts of interest was sent by Chairman Grassley on August 14, 2019, relating to the Henniges transaction. Henniges, I think. That was an Obama-era Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, CFIUS, approved transaction which gave control over hashas, an American maker of anti-vibration technologies with military applications, to a Chinese government-owned aviation company and a China-based investment firm with established ties in the Communist Chinese Party. One of the companies involved in the hashas transaction was a billion-dollar private investment fund called Bohai Harvest RST, BHR. BHR was reportedly formed in November 2013 by a merger between the Chinese government-linked firm Bohai Capital and a U.S. company named Rosemont Seneca Partners. Rosemont Seneca Partners was reportedly formed in 2009 by Hunter Biden, the son of then Vice President Joe Biden, by Chris Hines, the stepson of former Secretary of State John Kerry, and by others. The direct involvement of Hunter Biden and Hines in this acquisition of hashas by the Chinese government creates a potential conflict of interest. Both are directly related to high-ranking Obama administration officials. The Department of State, then under Mr. Kerry's leadership, is also a CFIUS member and played a direct role in the decision to approve the hashas transaction. The appearance of a potential conflict of interest in this case was particularly troubling given Hunter Biden's history of investing in and collaborating with Chinese companies, including at least one that clearly poses significant national security concerns. This history with China precedes and follows the 2015 hashas transaction. This report will discuss Hunter Biden and Devon Archer's corporate entities and their links to the Communist Chinese government in more detail. In 2019, newly released documents made public as a result of Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, requests and investigative reporting brought fresh public attention and scrutiny. And we're going to go down, there's more sources I'll copy. Potential conflicts of interest with respect to Ukraine policy. In the Obama administration. Additionally, news reporting also raised questions about potential conflicts of interest with respect to Hunter Biden's business dealings in China, Ukraine, and Russia while Joe Biden was serving as vice president. Accordingly, on November 6, 2019, Chairman Grassley and Chairman Johnson wrote a letter to the Department of State regarding potential conflicts of interest due to Hunter Biden's position on the board of a corrupt Ukrainian gas company, Burisma Holdings Limited, while Vice President Biden was the public face of the administration's handling of Ukraine. The committee's investigation focused on determining whether Hunter Biden and Devon Archer sought to benefit financially from their relationship with then Vice President Joe Biden, or if they sought to influence U.S. policy in Ukraine on behalf of Burisma. Further, the committee reviewed and evaluated the Obama administration's handling of Ukraine policy to determine whether policy decisions related to Ukraine and Burisma were improperly influenced by the employment and financial interests of family members of the administration. For example, after joining Burisma's board, Biden and Archer subsequently requested meetings with senior State Department officials, including then Secretary of State John Kerry and then Deputy Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Further, a Democratic lobbying firm, Blue Star Strategies, working on behalf of Burisma, also invoked Hunter Biden's association with Burisma while requesting a meeting with then Undersecretary of State Catherine Novelli to discuss matters of concern related to the Department of State's position that Burisma was a corrupt company. In 2016, Ukraine's top prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, had an active and ongoing investigation into Burisma and its owner, Mykola Zlokevsky. I can't say these names. At the time, Archer and Hunter, what names, man? Archer and Hunter Biden continued to serve on Burisma's board of directors. According to news reports, then Vice President Biden threatened to withhold $1 billion in United States loan guarantees if Ukraine's leaders did not dismiss Shokin. After that threat, Ukraine's parliament fired Shokin. Pursuant to the scope of this investigation, the committees requested relevant Obama administration records from several U.S. federal government agencies and interviewed current and former U.S. government officials with firsthand knowledge of the Obama administration's handling of U.S. policy in Ukraine. The committees sent requests for information to the Department of State, National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, U.S. Secret Service, Department of Treasury, and the U.S. Democratic consulting firm Blue Star Strategies. Accordingly, this investigation is based on Obama administration federal government records and records from a Democrat lobby shop, Blue Star Strategies. Senate Resolution 70 gives HSGAC express authority to study or investigate the efficiency and economy of operations of all branches of government, including the possible existence of corruption or unethical practices and conflicts of interest. The Committee on Finance has broad jurisdiction over the United States government and specifically the Department of Treasury and Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, which includes oversight jurisdiction over potential financial crimes. I will do a part 2.